How's it going, everybody? So today I wanted to go over just a Evil Dead Ash, the Evil Dead support build, and my build is a little bit different than a lot of people's. You have to kind of understand how Ash can best support the group. And the way I see it is due to his healing abilities being based on doing heavy attack damage and using colas and amulets, that's kind of where our key focus is going to be. So with Ash, his main skill, successful heavy attacks partially restore health for you and your nearby teammates at 35 health per hit. So you want to get in as many hits as possible to keep your group healed. 35 damage is actually quite a bit, especially when you're using a wide range weapon, such as like a sword or a spear, anything that can hit groups. It all adds up. So like 35 per hit on each. So that being said, when you're constantly doing heavy attacks, you want to be doing as much damage as possible as well with those melee attacks. So that's why I went, you have one in your Shims Plus, you have two in the Artful Dodger, more stamina reduction for dodging to get you out of danger when you need. I have Seeing Stars, increases balance damage for your melee attacks at 25%. That's really important to, when you're meleeing, to be able to knock enemies off balance, give you time to breathe, give your group time to breathe, especially in those like big wide sweeping attacks with like a sword. Then one into Stopping Power, and that is just mainly to move you to the next phase of the tree. And then Last hit of your combo causes increased damage by 50%. Huge damage. In a lot of ways you can just clear groups by yourself with, even white weapons. And when you max out your melee tree or melee damage with pink Fs, you're going to be doing quite a bit of damage and being able to clear out a lot of groups pretty easily. Next, Tougher Than Hell, reduce the amount of damage you receive at 10%. This is pretty decent. So when I was playing a few games as Evil, some of the heavy attacks were doing, like 200, 300 damage to groups. So this is reducing, giving you about 20 to 30 damage reduction versus the bosses. You could theoretically move these points somewhere else if you like, but I just like being able to reduce as much damage as possible, have as much health as possible, and do as much damage as possible while healing my group. I feel like that's kind of the synergy that you want. You want to get in the middle, you want to be attacking with the other attackers, that way you're healing in your really tiny aura of heals. So that's why I also went with Devastating Force, increased weapon damage by another 15%. I think with like white or blue swords, you can hit upwards of like 150, 200 damage a hit with a heavy attack. And they're pretty fast, to be honest. I don't worry about ranged weapons at all, and a lot of times when I pick up a ranged weapon while I'm playing, I like to just pick up something simple like a white pistol or something that's not going to be turned around and used if I get possessed by chance. If you're picking up like a legendary shotgun or a legendary crossbow, or something that's going to do a ton of damage, and you get possessed and you start sniping your team and they can't even reach you. So I wanted to reduce that amount of damage as possible, so that I want to get up into the group for the possession to be able to do anything to the group. And that makes it easier for the group to counter the possession. So there are some good abilities in this tree, in the second section of the tree. That's a waste. Fear No Evil, it's give or take. It's hard to determine how much is 20%. When you start leveling up with pink Fs, you can get a pretty substantial fear reduction. But with Ash having his ability is just to reduce fear overall by 50, it kind of gives you an idea of what that means. I would say 50 is probably, you know, about 75 to maybe 50% of your total fear. It takes down a lot of fear when you use this ability. It's a cooldown of 60 seconds, so you're able to do that once every minute, obviously, and it's pretty capable of managing the fear of the group already. And typically when you get possessed, they're not possessing the supporter, they're possessing someone that's doing a lot of damage, so they expect, you know, the hunter or you know, one of the even the leader or something like that to be able to possess them, do the damage to the support, to knock them out, try to knock them out as fast as possible. So typically I don't get possessed a lot in my games. I played quite a few games, and you know, I get possessed here or there, but it doesn't last very long, isn't very effective. So I don't really worry about getting possessed. It's almost as if I get a free fear reduction. So to me, like, putting points into more fear reduction is kind of pointless. And when I level up my character in-game, fear is kind of like one of the last points that I put into. It's actually second to last. I focus on health first, then melee, then shield, then stamina, then fear, then ranged. That's kind of my order. Arcane knowledge, worthless. You can detect objects, you know, a bit further. But if you've played Ash support, you already know that the range to detect items, detect object items, is pretty good already. Especially like when you're finding maps, I can usually see it well away from me already, so it's a waste of points here. The big one here is fast forward. You can make an argument that 10% of the duration timer for objective events is pretty substantial. The issue that I have with that is even the final event is about 1.5 minutes. So taking, you know, 10% of it away, you know, it might add up when everybody has it for a 40% reduction, but the chance of just having like a 10% reduction is not really worth losing, let's say at a minimum 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points that you could put into somewhere else. That's my idea around it. Then you can get into the deep pocket amulets. So I'm pretty iffy on this as well. The reason being, the length of the shield bar, 12%. I mean, these are really low numbers. Damage reduction 10%, that had me interested. You know, it's another tougher than hell. But I found myself, you know, in situations where amulets are pretty sparse. You're using them in kind of emergency situations. You're not really keeping yourself shielded the whole time. This is better on like other characters that can regenerate their shield through their attacks. And I don't really see it as a good use on Evil Dead Ash. Mainly because when you're playing support, you're popping shields really to kind of assist your whole team. And if you don't know, when you play a support character, whenever you pop colas or amulets, it affects the entire team within a radius. So you want to use those when everybody's in tight groups, and use the colas to heal when, like, you know, it hits the fan, you know, and you want to heal everybody at once or shield everybody at once. That's kind of how I save my colas and my amulets. I try to, you know, keep my health up via just heavy attacking, using that as the way to heal the group, and using colas only in emergencies. This is where I think a lot of people will be maybe confused or disagree. I think the rezzing abilities are kind of worthless. When you res somebody, the health that they have starting out is pretty generous already. You could even pop a cola at that point to, heal yourself and everybody else. But as a support, you're kind of focused too much by like possessed or the evil player. I think any good evil player will focus on the support, knock them down, because they're keeping everybody else up with their heals and other abilities. So the chances of me being able to get off a res as opposed to somebody else, like a hunter or someone that's not being focused, is more likely. People like to run in and just grab the heal. They don't care that I could do a 35% more health when they recover. That's not a priority. Nobody's going to stop for you and do that. So it becomes very situational for all of these res abilities. So in that case, I think they're pretty much a waste. The fear delay, you recover a percentage of health yourself when you res somebody. In that case, just pop a cola. You can carry like 6 at this point with deep pockets and Shim's cola. I just went 1 into first aid just so I could get to industrial strength, and deep pockets, Shim cola. Matchsticks, worthless. You don't need these. Between the group, you'll be able to light enough fire if you need to. But again, your ability is to reduce fear by 50 points every minute. So you can just pop it on yourself if you feel like you're running into fear, or in the worst case scenario, use one of your matches. This is not something to use your points on, in my opinion. Shim's Cola versus Packing Pop. Start the match with an extra Shim Cola or being able to carry an additional Shim Cola. I feel like this is more important, and because the max amount that you can carry is more than just starting out, because in the situation that you start out, you're not running into a lot of deadites or even the evil presence unless you get really unlucky in your spawns. So I feel like Packing Pop is the waste, where definitely Shim's Cola is worth it. And then of course I went with Industrial Strength for 25% more health. The reason why I don't focus on range as well is because these skills don't really rely on your damage with ranged. You can just headshot the enemy, and the teammates' damage is the way they regenerate health. Or deal additional damage. It's not yours. So like headshots will mark the target, a follow-up shot from a teammate will deal additional damage. So that's why theirs matters. And on mark target healing, a follow-up shot from a teammate will restore a percentage of the damage back to them as health. That's the follow-up shot that the teammate does. So you want to grab something that can shoot a lot of times, mark them in the head, let somebody else tag them if you want to go that route. So I kind of ignore this even a lot of times, unless it's where like the group is away from me and I can't get off a heal. I can shoot them and hope that the other teammate shoots them, So that's my overall build. I'll try to put in like some gameplay footage and show how it all works, but oftentimes I'm either first or second place, definitely number 1 in healing, even if Cheryl's in the group. And I don't know if that's because Cheryl's are built wrong, or if they're just not capable of pumping out the healing like Ash can, because he can literally heal every melee attack, where Cheryl kind of has to wait. And Cheryl I kind of build, in my mind, as a ranged healer. Stay away from the group, only run in when you want to pop the AoE heal in worst case scenarios with Shim Cola or Q ability. And that is that. So if you have any questions or have any, conflicting thoughts about the build, feel free to post it down below, and I wish you the best, and I hope the build works for you. Take care.